motorhomediaries.com.
My name is Rachel Hawkridge, and I'm the chair of the Libertarian Party of Washington State. I'm also the Region 7 rep to the Libertarian National Committee. And I came to the Libertarian Party when I met my husband. I hadn't been involved in politics at all until then. I thought I was apolitical. I didn't belong to the Republicans, didn't belong to the Democrats, and didn't agree with any of them about much of anything. Back in 1999, Oscar McCoy, who was a black serviceman who had married a white German woman while he was in the service over in Germany, came back home to the Central District of Seattle, and he opened a restaurant, soul food restaurant called Oscar's 2. And it was a great restaurant and real community, one of those anchors of the community. And of course, most of their customers were, surprise, young black folks. Oscar's 2 did not have a huge problem until Norm Stamper's police department started sending in confidential informants in one door who sold drugs to the confidential informant that came in the other door. And then the police department busted the restaurant. They didn't bust their informants, they busted the restaurant. And they tried to abate the property. And what they managed to do was that they tied up the liquor license for over a year. And they broke the family and practically bankrupted them. And they never did actually bring any criminal charges against the family. But what they did was they went to the Liquor Control Board and they said, these people are doing bad stuff and we need to stop them. Eventually, after all kinds of public hearings and things, that was resolved. But one of those public hearings was at the Liquor Control Board office down in Olympia. And they were talking about how these people should have been aware that drugs were being dealt in their business. Now remember, it was police confidential informant who was selling it to another confidential informant. When we got to that hearing that day, I had a handful of popcorn, and we took grains of popcorn and passed them out to most of the audience members. And when it was my turn to speak, and I told them that the rocks of crack cocaine that you're talking about being sold in the business are about the size of this piece of popcorn. And most of the people in this audience now have a piece of popcorn that I gave them since we entered this room, and you weren't aware of any of it. How can you justify persecuting these people who through the police, I don't know what you call it, interference, planning, weren't aware of what was going on in their business. Anyway, eventually they won. The McCoys did. And they got their liquor license back and they sold the business and retired. But the state broke these people. And all they did was just want to sell some gumbo and some beer to their neighbors. Once that was over, I filed 2 initiatives to privatize liquor sales in Washington State. That didn't go real far because in order to pass an initiative in the state, you have to get 250,000 signatures just to get on the ballot. And needless to say, we didn't make it. Part of the reason is that the bar owners and restaurant owners and people who would like to have that passed are scared to death of retaliation. The Liquor Control Board in this state they are some of the worst fascists you've ever seen, where they clamp down tight on people, and they're retaliatory and they're mean and they're vindictive. What we really need to do is have all of you guys, anarchists, agorists, voluntarists, free marketeers, all of those people come out of the closet the best thing would be to if they become members of the party and or register as libertarians, so that we can say these people believe this way, we all believe the same way or in similar ways, and this is what we want our government to look like. Right now we're not. The liberty movement is splintered in so many different directions that we look like tiny little groups, when I think that there's a huge percentage of Americans who are actually libertarian-minded in a lot of ways that they just don't realize it. We don't realize it. So our biggest challenge is to get people to realize that libertarian is American.